This is Living Your Authentic Life. I'm Ada.
And I'm Emma.
And today we are going to do something a little bit different. We're going to ask each other a series of questions so that you guys have the opportunity to get to know us, get to know a little bit about, I guess, why we're doing this, what our goals are, what our aspirations are. And also just have the opportunity to get to know each other a little bit better, I think.
Yes, because these are pretty big questions. They're actually questions that were asked by Deepak Chopra. Those of you who know who he is, he's a wonderful spiritual guru. And this was on an interview with Oprah. And these are questions he believes that everybody should be asking themselves. So we thought it would be good to give them a go.
Yeah. So the questions, we'll read them out first and then we'll kind of go back and forth with them. Mm-hmm. So the questions are, who am I? What do I want? What's my purpose in this life? What are my unique talents, skills, and gifts? What do I expect in a meaningful relationship?
Mm-hmm. Wonderful questions. I love these questions.
Very deep questions. Very, I've been thinking about this on my way here today. I was thinking about the questions and I couldn't remember all of them, but I remembered who am I, what do I want, and I was like, what massive questions to start with.
Yeah, well, that's good because I forgot we were even doing these questions today and got home from my last client and just felt tired and managed to get out in the garden and chuck the ball around for the dogs, but literally I've had a shower. I'm in my pajamas right now while we're filming this podcast.
We love it.
Because I could not be bothered to put fresh clothes on. So.
To be fair, today was my day off and I spent most of the day in a bathrobe.
I love a pajama day.
Yeah, it was great. And then I was like, crap, gotta go film an episode. Mm-hmm. Didn't want to do it. Was like, all right, how do I put myself in the mindset? Dress myself up. Did my eyebrows for the first time in a month. And
they look fabulous.
Oh, thank you. For those who are just listening, they are on fleek. Those of you who are watching, thank you. Thank you. But I needed to in order to get myself into the mindset, I had to put on a nice dress and do my eyebrows and put a little bit of mascara on to feel like I was going to be able to do anything today. It's
a good method for sure, and I'm sure most women, maybe men too, let's not exclude the men, can relate to that when you're feeling a little bit crap and you think, I'm going to put on some nice clothes today, I'm going to do my makeup, do something special with my hair, and it does just give you a little boost. Mm-hmm. I do think there is a level of self-care in kind of wanting to present yourself, but I think there's also a level of self-care of, doing what I'm doing right now and just if you're not feeling it, wear your baggy clothes, wear your unflattering clothes if you just feel like being comfy that day or whatever. But I love a good dress up to perk yourself up. That's good.
Definitely. And I think it speaks to living authentically to be honest about the fact that I'm dressed up today because I needed it, and you're wearing PJs because you needed it, and it's just kind of one of those things where...
Well, that's what I was thinking, because obviously, yes, authenticity is the theme of the podcast, and I, like you, I didn't really feel like doing this today, but I know that every time we filmed an episode, we've ended up just vibing the whole time, and by the end of it feeling actually more energized.
Definitely.
So I was just thinking when I kind of went to my car then to get the chair we needed, I was really happy that we were doing this, and I'm really happy that I can do it in my pajamas. It feels great because it just makes this process so easy for us, right?
Yeah.
Being able to come and record these episodes in whatever mental, emotional, physical state we're in. So I hope that helps someone out there with doing that for yourself, going into the outside world in lots of different states and knowing that it is okay. It's absolutely okay. We need to make that okay.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And with that 5-minute detour.
Yes, it was much shorter than my usual detours.
We're doing really great, actually. We're nailing this whole podcast thing.
Yes.
So on that note, Emma, who are you?
There's so many ways to answer this question, right?
I know.
It's like, do I go for personality traits that I think I have? Do I go for what my friends would describe me as? So I'm gonna do my best to, I guess, answer this in whichever way comes naturally to me. I think I am a very warm person. I think I genuinely want to make a difference in this world. And I think I'm someone who has come from very dark places and self-inflicted suffering and found my path and my journey out of that. And it's really shaped so much of what I think and how I view the world as today. So yeah, I think I'm a complex soul, and I am a soul on this everlasting journey.
Definitely.
I think that's the best way I can answer that.
That's a really good answer.
Aiden, who are you? Tell me.
When I was in the car thinking about it on the way here, like my first thought was, oh God, I don't want to answer the question first because I have no idea how to take it. I want to see what Emma says before I say who I think I am. But then I was like, oh, well, then you're just going to be like feeding off of her. So the answer that I came up with in the car is, that photo of like the two wolves, and it's like I've got two wolves inside of me, sort of like personality thing. I feel like that. I feel like I've got like my soft girl cottagecore vibe personality that's very like warm and has like good vibes and very upbeat and kind of has that that like happiness and peacefulness. But then I've also got like this little like ragey goblin inside of me that's like very chaotic, like doesn't have her head on straight, doesn't know what she's doing, figuring things out one day and 1 minute at a time sort of thing. And they're always like trying to like have control and guide me through life, right? I've got definitely some of that darkness and definitely a lot of softness as well that I think actually was built from kind of my own trials and all of my struggles. I think that,
of course,
I read somewhere about like the idea that your struggles create you, and it's the people who are created through those struggles and come out of it softer and warmer and gentler that are kind of like the people who have true strength. And so I really truly believe that a lot of my strength comes from being soft and forgiving and gentle with myself and with others.
Yes, that is coming into the feminine energy, right?
Yes,
which
exactly.
is this new phase that we are entering where we realize as women, like, this is something to be seen as a strength and to be utilized as a strength, and not something that we need to push away because, it's better and more accepted to be controlling and domineering.
And like the strong woman doesn't have to be harsh.
Yes,
she can be.
A strong woman can also be loving and compassionate and forgiving.
And soft and warm. And so that's kind of who I want to be, and I definitely see the harsher edges of myself when I'm really stressed and when I'm kind of like in a place of, I don't know, a turmoil with either my personal life or my work life or relationships, things like that. Like if that's all kind of, I guess, tumultuous, then it's a lot harder to still be soft and forgiving and kind. And that's kind of the struggle that I see within myself and kind of what makes up who I am.
Yes, yeah. But something I'd like to touch on there is, because we all have these darker aspects to ourselves, for sure.
Yeah.
I can totally resonate and relate to what you've just said. But what do you think about the more we explore both of these aspects? It's like would I really know the depths of my like softness and compassion and forgiveness if I hadn't gone through these kind of darker phases and explored these sides of myself that, you know, maybe led me down a certain path that I then wanted to change enough, and it then allowed me to kind of look at other people and go, well, yeah, you know, I've been down dark paths. I've had these terrible thoughts and feelings. Like, now I see someone else who's suffering, and maybe they don't even realize that they're there. But rather than kind of going, this guy's an asshole because he's, you know, rude towards women, or this girl is annoying because she won't shut up about her personal life and just overshares and emotion dumps on everyone. And it's like when you've forgiven yourself and kind of processed so much of your own trauma or beliefs that you were holding on to, you start to spot it in everyone, and you kind of go, okay, they're at that stage right now, like they're going through something, so I'm not going to take on any of that personally. Definitely. So do you think the light and dark aspects of ourselves can become almost like friends, like understanding of each other?
I think it's like a symbiotic relationship where you kind of have to just be aware of the duality and kind of engage with it in a place of kind of understanding and a place of love, right? Like if you're coming out at it from a very I guess soft place, and if you're addressing the duality within oneself, the feminine and masculine energy, and kind of engaging with it from a place of understanding, then it can kind of morph a little bit better and be much softer around the edges, kind of overall. Nice. So Emma,
yes,
what do you want?
What do I want? A house by the beach.
Ooh, $1 million maybe.
I mean, gosh, I want a lot of things. I do. I think more than anything, I want to become the best version of myself, and whatever that kind of entails, and just really reaching a place of complete acceptance. Because I mean, we do live in a really material world, and I don't think I'm a very materialistic person, but I can still absolutely get sucked into you know, things that I would like to have and that are maybe striving towards. I mean, I just made the joke about a house on the beach, right? And you would know for years we had plans to eventually move to Queensland so that we could afford to live by the beach.
Definitely.
And it was just this thing that we kept talking about, and that in my head was creating like a lot of, I guess, discomfort of like, when are we going to get there? You know, how long is it going to take? I just want to go. And then I was trying to make that happen in Sydney as well. And not just the cost was in the way, but my partner works in an area that it would just be really hard for him to get to work if we lived near any of the beaches. So I had a really long, hard think about it, and I was like, why do I want this so much? And it's because I'd attached myself to this image of like getting up in the morning and walking down the beach with my coffee and walking my dogs, and, you know, getting home from work and just going and watching the sunset on the beach, which would be beautiful, right? But I realized, like, one, would I actually do it? Would I actually spend my time that way? Because I know I have a beautiful backyard, and most of the time when I come home, I have to convince myself to actually go out and sit in it, because brain's just conditioned to come home and get on the sofa and watch TV. And when I'm tired, that is what I fall to, right? So I'm definitely having to make more of a conscious effort not to do that. But like, I don't need that to make me happy. I don't need that to make me happy. And it was just like having this acceptance of like something that I'd thought that I wanted for so long, and I realized actually I don't need it. And so now whenever these things come up that I want, I'm trying to find a place of acceptance where, like, if I don't ever have that in my life, if I don't ever achieve it, that I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to be successful. I want to leave a mark on the world, a good positive mark. And I would love to have, you know, certain luxuries that bring me joy. But what I really, really want more than anything is to be able to accept things however they are and always choose to be happy.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm striving for.
I mean, it's a good goal. It's also a very hard one to actually attain, right? Like, with especially everything that kind of comes at you in the material world, you can be very easily distracted from that goal without even really realizing it, because you think you're chasing that goal by chasing something material, something that is out of reach, like the beach house and the beach and the daily walks in the evening with your dogs. Like, if you're striving for that instead of like having that inner reflection of, am I happy right now, it just gets really hard to actually enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Because nothing, and I truly believe in this philosophy, is that nothing extrinsic actually makes you happy. It's only how you feel about anything. You know, like, my partner hates the beach. The beach isn't going to make him happy. It's, you know, so it's nothing in itself is innately a gift of pleasure. It's your own sensory, you know, connection with it that makes it pleasurable. So, like, finding a way to make anything in some way pleasurable on some level, and not feeling like you have to attach yourself to anything either. I think that's probably one of the biggest superpowers any human could develop. Yeah. Knowing that you'll be happy in any situation. Yeah. All right, Aiden, what do you want?
I think something that I have been really striving for a really long time is peace. I think, like I mentioned, like, the whole chaos goblin that lives inside of me is like, most of my life I've had a very kind of chaotic mind. It jumps around. I've talked about it before, right? Like the lack of focus and the I've got a terrible memory. If I don't write something down, I'll forget it. If it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen, sort of thing. Like, I think that I'm always just like, I've got this sense of like urgency, this sense of anxiety, and kind of the mental 100 miles an hour kind of mind. And very recently, I'd say in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, have just been really seeking peace and trying to attain peace on a deeper level than just kind of like feeling calm. Like, more of that deeper sense of like, I am at peace. I know that what I'm doing is kind of bringing me calm, bringing me happiness. Where I am is bringing me happiness, and in a similar sense, it's not about the location or the job or anything like that. It's about the mindset and about what is inside and intrinsic to you. So just kind of, I guess, seeking that and coming to the same conclusions that it's really just not about what's going on around you. It's not about how much money you're making. It's not about the job that you have, or the title, or the status or anything like that. And it's really just about being okay with who you are, and being accepting of who you are.
That's awesome. And I think what kind of pertains to what we've both said is enjoying the journey and not like, life isn't a means to an end, you know, and like, success isn't a means to an end. Like, I've been hearing this a lot recently with podcasts I've listened to, and they've talked about, you know, you do it because you find something in it, something joyful, something that gives you drive and motivation. And I think if you're doing it just for the end goal, like, let's say if I don't know, if we were doing this podcast to get rich versus doing it because we genuinely want to, I don't know, have this content out there in the hopes that it might help someone. And if at some point we started making money from it, that would be amazing, but it's not the driver.
Yeah, it's not the goal. It's
a
potential side effect of
because honestly, like anything that's driven by just the end goal and everything else in between is, you know, maybe some parts are enjoyable, maybe some are not, but you're never really gonna love it. And
it'll be harder to get there too. Like, if you're only thinking about the thing, like having a very wealthy retirement, the 9-to-5 job's not gonna really cut it, because you're gonna be super run down and super exhausted every single day trying to reach that whatever number you come up with as like the happiness number.
I mean, definitely nowadays the 9-to-5 job will not cut it. Also, especially if you're living in Sydney.
Fair point.
But yeah, I mean, even like I have worked with so many people, or treated so many people who have incredibly high paying jobs, but they're incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And, you know, these people are now in their 50s and 60s and they're a freaking mess, man. You know, they're in pain, they're overweight. It's just like chronic inflammation in the body. And like they have these beautiful houses and like a ton of money, but they don't feel well enough to do anything. They don't feel well enough to go anywhere. And they're just kind of like pushing themselves until they feel like they can retire, and then they're probably not going to have a freaking clue what to do with themselves. You know, and their bodies are in a kind of state where they've now got to invest a lot of the money that they've made into surgeries and medication and seeing therapists, you know, physios, exercise physiologists, like whatever it is. It's like I feel so grateful to have met so many people that have lived that exact story, because it kind of makes me go like, I feel so justified in wanting a healthy work-life balance for the entirety of my life. And I refuse to play into this whole like you've got to burn yourself out game to get ahead. Like
I feel so lucky. I am in a corporate role and I'm working in a corporate job, and it is definitely stressful, but the business unit that I'm in and the department that I'm working for within the company, they've got such a focus on us taking care of ourselves and like having that work-life balance. Like if they catch you working after 5 p.m, you get yelled at. They're like, log off, all of that work can wait until tomorrow. Why are you still working?
That's so good.
And it's very like, how can we help you if you're not reaching your goals in the 9-to-5, like what can we do differently to make it achievable for you? Like what can we put in place to help you kind of obtain and maintain the work-life balance?
I freaking love that, and I love hearing about any company who's like adopted new ways and they're really putting the health of their workers ahead, because they know that's how they're actually going to have a successful business. And there's you know, I have these conversations all the time with people who run companies, and they're like, I can't, you know, I just have such a high turnover of staff. Like they don't want to hang around. And it's because you're doing the traditional thing that you saw your grandparents and your parents do, of just like working people into the bone. Like that's okay. Like that's the normal thing to do. And along comes our generation and is like, that's not going to work for us.
No thanks.
And we got, you know, called brats for a while, and like, you know, we don't want to work hard. And it's just not the case. Like we absolutely want to work hard and we want to be passionate about what we're doing, but we don't want to spend our entire lives sacrificing.
And we don't want to be taken advantage of for nothing. I think that's, Gen Z is even more like that than we are, which I'm so proud of them for. I think that Gen Z gets a lot of flack for being similarly like a young and bratty kind of generation, but they know what they're worth. They are not going to take any BS. And
I do think there's a little bit of like seeing all these influencers making a ridiculous living, you know, from posting videos on YouTube, and now there's a bunch of teenagers at home being like, I don't need to get a job. I'm just gonna make a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes with the whole social media generation, though, like the fixation on social media.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily their fault.
No, I'm just saying, like, I mean, there's two sides to every coin, right?
Yeah,
just as there is with our generation, for sure. But yeah, anyway, we got sidetracked again.
Stick with us, guys. We'll get there. We'll get through the questions.
Question number 3.
What is your purpose in life?
This is a big one. I asked myself this question last year, around the start of last year. It was the first time I started doing not so much goal setting, but like intention setting for a period of time, you know. So it was January 2023. That would be last year. Yeah. Thanks, maths.
We're with it. We know what year it is.
So it was January last year, and I decided to sit down kind of January 1st with my notebook and think, okay, like what do I want out of this year? And it was the year before that, kind of towards the end of the year, that I'd had this huge spiritual awakening. So yeah, that very much brought me to the point of, well, I want to know what my purpose is. I was enjoying my work that I was doing, but I still wasn't like in love with it. I was passionate about it when I was with people, but when I wasn't, I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't exactly pouring a whole lot of time. Like I go and do courses and stuff, but you know, I wouldn't sit there reading research, whereas now I do that like all the time. And it's because I want to, it's not a chore. So yeah, I asked what my purpose was, and then I was like waiting around being like, okay, like I'm ready for my sign now, universe, like come and drop a name in my head and like, tell me what career I'm supposed to do, or and you know, to answer this question, to explain this whole story would take forever. So a whole chain of events happened, and pretty much within a few months, like I realized that I had my answer. And so my purpose is to help people who have lost the truth of like who they are, the true nature of what it is to be like a soul on a journey. And you know, it comes from personal experience, because like I had such a hard time. And like I said before, like I went to some really dark places, and I didn't know life could be this good. I honestly didn't know. I just thought some people were born happy and some people were born like me. And I was playing the victim, you know, like I was overly sensitive, and I think I say that with love, because I just mean that I had so much love in me that it hurt whenever I wasn't like treated the way that I wanted to be treated, or if someone said something that wasn't the exact thing that I knew was going to make me feel better, then it wasn't good enough. And I'd spiral on so many things that life became a little bit intolerable. It really was intolerable, and that was at the worst of times, you know, where you kind of didn't want to exist. And at the best of times, it was tolerable. But I wasn't having a good time. And yeah, now I'm having a freaking great time. I really love life. And anyone who's listening to this podcast who knew me in secondary school will see that I'm just such a different person. I mean, I'm sure most people are, right? But I used to look at people like me and think like, ugh, it's so exhausting to be around. Why are you so bubbly and energetic and smiley? You know, people used to say you should smile more, and I used to think, well, what am I going to do? Just walk around smiling? Like, I'm not a psychopath. That was literally my answer to that, to when people would say that to me. And now I walk around with a freaking smile on my face all the time because I'm that happy. Not every day, not every moment. And it's taken a long time to get here and a lot of, you know, self-discovery. But yeah, I truly would say, like, I am a happy person and I feel fulfilled in my life, and I am excited for my future, not worried about my future, which I think was something I always was worried about my future. So yeah, my purpose is to help anyone who is stuck in that same place I was, and show them that, you know, I get it. I get where you are. I understand how you're feeling because I've been there. And I promise you, like, life is so much better than what you think. Yeah, that's it.
That's a lot. That's incredible. And interestingly, I think I'm also a helper. Like, I think you and I, just as people, one of the reasons that we probably gravitate towards each other is because we've got that mentality and that drive and that purpose. I feel like my purpose, one of my passions in life is volunteering. As you
do,
I volunteer so much. I love to volunteer for my church. I spend almost every Sunday volunteering with them. Just this past weekend was Easter. That gives you a bit of a baseline for how soon this video will be coming out, I guess. But that's last weekend I spent Friday, Saturday, and Sunday volunteering.
Wow.
At my church. Like, I did the entire Easter weekend, aside from Monday, which I then had off and was like my rest day. But I love it. I'll do anything to like, just to help out and to, like, be a helping hand and to show up for people if I'm needed.
Because you've done, like, for 4 years now, you've volunteered every Sunday. I know you have.
Pretty close
because,
to.
You know, whenever we hang out, like, I know that your Sunday mornings are, like, off the cards.
Yeah, and it's not just, like, going to church. It's like it's not a question of, like, oh, well, maybe you skip church this time. It's like, no, I can't. I've got volunteering on. I've got to, like, be with the kids or helping out with the sound desk or welcoming crew, or they asked last minute if I'm available for coffee. And I'm going to be there anyway because I love to go to church, right? But it's so much more meaningful to go and to be doing something and to be pitching in and to be giving back to the community.
Well, because that's it, right? Like, you're not taking. I mean, there's a bit of taking in there, but, like, you're going to give, and I think when you're giving, like, it's easier to, like, get up and do it, right? Than when you're going to take for yourself. I've talked myself out of going to church because I'm like, I'm not volunteering. Kind of want to just sleep in. I don't really have a reason to show up. Like, yes, God's a reason to show up, but, like, I can watch it online later. Our church is still being recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Like, I can watch it from home, from the comfort of my couch. I don't have to go and be there. But volunteering, like, gets me out of bed and gets me to go. And then I still have to watch church later because I've been back with the kids and wasn't actually part of the service. But it makes everything so much more meaningful for me. It feels like my purpose is to just kind of give back how I can in any way. And most commonly that's at church. But if I can give to any of the clients that we're working with, if I can give to my colleagues, if I can give to my friends, to my partner, I just really thrive in environments like that, and I feel like more of a person when I'm giving. So yeah, that's me, beautiful.
the giver.
That's lovely. This stuff just, it fills you up, right? Like, the more you express, I guess, unselfish behavior, which isn't bad all of the time. You know, sometimes we need to be a little bit selfish.
Yeah.
But there can't be anyone on this earth that if you make another person smile that goes, oh, I hate that.
You'd have to be really unhappy to be in that position.
I mean, unless it's like a creepy person that you're making smile. Then we can understand, ladies, you know what we're talking about. Yes. No, but yeah, like making someone else's day, doing something good for them, literally just having a nice interaction. You know, when you're like standing in a lift or something and there's an old lady in there and she just starts having a chat with you and it's just like, that was nice, that was wholesome. I stopped at the Office Works on my way here to pick up some stuff, and those, for starters, like, being this age is really weird because I still feel like a kid half of the time, but then you see like retail workers who are teenagers and you're like, they're just babies, give them a break. And these poor kids were just trying to help with returns, and the line was like backing up and getting like, you could see them like visibly stressing, and the poor girl who's just trying to figure out something with a return or with an exchange or something, and she's just like, I have no idea what's going on, and she keeps trying to like call somebody, and I just smile at her and I'm like, you've got this, just breathe. I'm like, just breathe, you're okay. And she like had this look of like, okay, I'm okay. And I was like, this is like nobody else is giving them that reassurance, and that's like, why isn't anybody else noticing that these kids are just kids and they just need like a break? You see that all the time, don't you?
Overworked.
Like people in cafes or in retail shops, whatever, and there's a trainee, you know, whether they're young or old, and you can see the person getting impatient and like the good old British like how much longer is this going to take? And it's hard, like, I think it's easy to do when you have time on your hands, you know. I mean, some people will just never react that way, and they'll maybe always be rude, so that's on them, right? That's stuff that they haven't dealt with. But, you know, people like you and I who have really worked on this kind of stuff, and you try to be as forgiving and accepting and understanding as possible. It's easy to do when you're not in a rush. But when you are in a rush, I've totally had moments where I'm thinking in my head, like, if this person doesn't hurry up, and you're like,
I definitely get that, but nothing feels to me, and this is so new for me as well, but nothing feels important enough to rush so much that I'm mean to somebody, that I'm unkind. Like, I don't know, I don't think that it's worth it anymore. I don't think there's anything. Maybe my wedding day I would have had that reaction, but even then I added so much buffer time that I was early to my wedding, which never happens. So like,
we had to wait outside.
We waited outside because we were like way early, and I'd been stressed the entire time in the like getting ready, but we'd planned it so that we weren't going to be late. That just like,
it all worked out. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. I had a similar thing actually with, you've known me for long enough now, you know, I was like obsessed over like punctuality and like being on time, and that also left a real sore spot for when people wouldn't be on time with me. It would like irritate the hell out of me.
But that's especially the case when you've got a schedule to keep for other people as well, like when you've got clients back to back. It
is. And definitely with my clients, like I'm still quite rigid with making sure I arrive early. Like being early to me is being on time. If I'm actually on time, I'm late.
I'm still quite similar. That's why I put so much buffer time in.
But with like, I don't know, catching up with a friend, someone's coming over to your place, you're going over to their place, like whatever it is, someone coming from Facebook Marketplace to purchase something that you're selling, whatever, like stuff like that, it would really irritate me, and I'd feel like people don't respect my time if they're not, you know, getting there. And I felt, because I was so punctual, that people should be punctual with me. And anyway, one time I was moving my car in between clients so that I could maintain free parking.
As you do.
And I messaged the client that I was going to have next, and I was like, hey, I might be a couple of minutes late because I've got to move my car. I'm really sorry. And she was like, yeah, no problem. And this was the loveliest woman. She absolutely would not have cared if I was even like 10 minutes late. And I was rushing so badly trying to move my car out. And I had to go through this kind of narrow, you know, in Woolworths in Lane Cove, you know the turn I'm talking about. And I was rushing, and my car that I'd had for 3 weeks heard this big bang, and I was like, oh no. And I'd like caught my back right hand side wheel arch on a concrete barrier, and I was just like, oh my god. That ended up costing me over $1,000 to fix. And that, at the time, I was like, I know that this is, I was like, what, why did I rush? Yeah. Why did I told the client that I was going to be late.
Yeah.
She was absolutely fine with it, and I still rushed. And I was like, I need to stop caring so much about this.
Yeah.
Because I've just cost myself $1,000 because I didn't want to be a few minutes late to a client.
Who would have been totally fine.
Yeah, and even if it was a client who wouldn't have been totally fine, that's not worth $1,000 to me.
No.
You know, I love to be punctual, but I would have rather had the $1,000 back in my account and not messed up my car. So
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I think it's and see, you look at that and you realize there's a lesson to learn. You know, and I think so many people go through life getting these lessons presented to them, but instead they're going to come out of that car park being like,
everything's terrible.
I've messed up my car because I had to rush to this client, for God's sake, you know, and
Yeah.
So it's good. We need to look at life's lessons and make sure we're listening to them and changing what we're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
this is a good one.
This is a very good one. What are your unique talents or skills or gifts?
Okay. Something I've been told a few times is that I have a very grounding energy.
I'd agree.
Which is really nice to hear, because it actually makes me feel like I can love myself a little bit more now. Because I think one of the reasons I have a very grounding energy is that I've got a slightly deeper tone to my voice. I talk slowly. I know I talk slowly. And I used to hate that about myself. I really did.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah. And when I first started making YouTube videos and stuff, I was like, oh my God. I actually went and saw one of my clients who was a voice coach.
Yeah.
To get her to help me to stop being so monotone. And, you know, so I started posting these videos, and some of my friends had watched them and they said how much they liked them. And then one of my friends, Mikey, actually asked if I wanted to do a voiceover for this video that he was doing. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, you've just got such a nice voice. And I went, what? I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I hate my voice. And then my other friend that was also there was like, no, your voice is so nice. I love listening to your voice. And so when people tell me I have a grounding energy and you know, I've made this connection, that I think that's why.
Yeah.
I think that is a gift, because I noticed ever since that I was young, I was always the agony aunt for my friends. People would open up to me even though they didn't know me very well. I'd always end up in deep conversations with a lot of people, and I think I make people feel safe. I think I make people feel like you can tell me anything and you're not going to be judged. And grounding people who are maybe a little bit like really up in their higher chakras and very kind of highly strung, or maybe just, you know, people with that kind of ADHD kind of energy, where they're, you know, just very, very eccentric. They're busy all the time. Always got to be doing something, and then they sit down and talk to me, and they go, "Oh wow, like this is this is nice. I feel like I've just come down off."
I can attest to that. I think that's some of my more chaotic days when we hang out. I'm feeling all over the place. It just feels so much more calmer after the fact.
Yeah. And it's nice because I always thought maybe I needed to be more like other people who were more upbeat, and I think the more confident I've become, the more authentic I've become, and the more I've learned to love myself. I am absolutely more outgoing. I talk louder than I used to because I was a quiet mumbler, and I smile a lot more, and I'm definitely more expressive, but I'm still not one of those super bubbly person, center of the room. Like I'm still not one of those people. I'm still me. Which is cool. So yeah, I definitely think that's one of my gifts, and I think also just what I can do with my hands. Massage people.
That's
massaging people in a completely professional way. That's not a creepy statement. I think I have a natural talent for massage. I really do, and I think I have a keen eye for seeing where there's issues in the body. Because I'm also a trainer, corrective movement trainer, so seeing where people's biomechanics are not quite right. And I think I have some other gifts as well, but I will talk about those in another podcast. It's more in the spiritual side of things. But I'll leave it at that for now. What are your unique talents or skills or gifts?
I think that I'm a very forgiving person. I think I've got a lot of empathy for others. I've got I've got a very deep well of patience as well. Like I think that this kind of ties back to like the love of volunteering. I volunteer a lot with kids, and I think that takes a very unique heart and a very patient heart.
Oh yeah,
like
I find kids annoying.
I love kids. They have their moments where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna lose my head.
Yeah.
But even still, like something about them and their energy I think is so special.
It's so innocent.
It is so innocent.
Lovely.
It's
before
so sweet.
The world has polluted them.
even when they're kind of being little shits sometimes, like they're still so unique, and they've got such an interesting perspective in my opinion. And it takes a lot of patience. And I think that I've got quite a bit of it. And quite a bit of potential for forgiveness and for kind of empathy towards people who are going through stuff, kind of similar to what you said. Being able to kind of be that person that people turn to have kind of that deep chat, and to know that they're not going to be judged harshly.
Yeah, because you are incredibly inclusive.
Yeah.
Like whenever I have been in your company with other people, you're always kind of making sure everyone is participating and making sure that everyone is like welcome.
Yeah, and I think that stems from being a bit of an awkward kid. Like I'm a huge nerd, right? And I'm
you are.
We've talked about it before. I like fan fiction. I love anime. I'm like super nerdy, and I used to be so introverted when I was younger. Like it was hard for me to make friends because I was anxious all the time. And the people who made me feel included were some of the weird kids. Like I really started to come into myself when I joined theater in high school, and kind of started to learn how to express myself, I guess. And really it showed me that inclusivity and feeling included and feeling welcome is the most important thing to kind of making it through life, I think, because when you don't have that community, when you don't feel like there's anybody who cares or listens, it can be really, really hard.
Yeah. I do think, I'm going to say drama instead of theatre, because that's what just what we call it in the UK, but because I also went to a stage school when I was, I think between the ages of like 10 and 13, and then I also did drama in high school, so I think it's a great place for people to have that experience, right?
I agree.
Yeah, you really come out of your shell and realise that people like you for who you are and all your weird quirks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it attracts it attracts the weirdos, it attracts the outcasts, like,
yeah.
And I think when you all get banded together, you're like, hey, we're actually pretty cool people.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a huge lesson that I learned, and I carried that into uni. And yeah, I also, I have this confidence. I don't know how to say this with any sort of humility, but I just have I have this sense that if I want to do something, I 100% can do it. Like there's something in me that just is like, I could literally achieve any goal if it's a goal that I want.
Fuck yes.
Like I just have that belief in myself that Nick mentioned something. We were chatting about something and he's like, I don't think that you can like do, like, you could never make it in this video game. And I was like, yeah, because I don't want to. If I wanted to, I could. I really think, like, if I wanted to do something, I genuinely think that I could do it. And I think that is very unique to have that mentality.
I think that it's a beautiful thing, and I wish more people had that. Because it's something that I am striving for myself, and I reckon I'm most of the way there. There's just some very deep hang-ups that I have about particular things. But yeah, same. And I think I don't know if you're like me, but I would say that you are. That I've probably thought of so many different career paths that I could have taken, and genuinely think that I would have been amazing at them. I think I could have been an amazing journalist. I think I could have been an amazing police officer. I think I could have been an amazing surgeon. Like, I really believe that if those were the paths that I wanted to go down, I could have successfully done it.
Yeah, I am definitely very similar in that regard. So I similarly, like, I have imagined so many different futures for myself. Ironically, not this future. I never thought that I'd move to Australia. I always thought that I'd move away from home, but I never ever in a million years kind of considered Australia until I met my husband. But I had so many different like options available to me. Like when you're doing like the whole career thing, like what career path should you take? I was always like, I don't know, I could do anything. I literally could see myself being an astronaut, except that I had no interest in like physics. And so obviously I wasn't putting any effort into that. And like, I don't know, it's just so interesting.
Imagine if like everyone felt that way.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be if we just lived in a world where we were like, I could do that if I wanted to.
Yeah, and I also like, I know that there is like so much potential to fail, and I definitely had things that I was deterred from because I was like, well, I'll fail at that and I don't know how I feel about failure. But that's become less of a deterrent now. Like I'm much more open to the idea of failing and trying again if it's something that I want. Yeah. So Emma, what do you expect in a meaningful relationship?
Respect, definitely. A mutual respect. I truly believe that is one of the key foundation stones for any relationship, whether it's friendship or a romantic relationship or your relationship with your parents. You know, if you think about it, like not being respected or someone feeling like they're not being respected, I think is the cause for so many poor behaviors. And also not respecting someone. It's different if someone's giving you reasons not to respect them, right?
Yeah.
But you don't then in turn have to be disrespectful. There are many ways that you can work with that in a healthy way for yourself while still kind of building a barrier or a boundary with someone. But yeah, so respect, definitely. Communication. Good, healthy communication that both parties are willing to work on regularly. I definitely do that with my partner. We've exercised that as friends as well, which has been really beautiful because this does also come with understanding yourself more. Like there's been so many things, even so when I ask my partner to do something. Like literally it might be, you know, he might be busy and I might go, hey babe, like at 9:30, can I have a cuddle? Right? Because like I know I need some affection from him, but I know I need to give him time.
Yeah.
And he'll answer so many questions like this. He'll go, sure. And in my head, I'm like, is he freaking kidding me? Like, that just sounds so unenthusiastic and also like, okay, yeah, but I don't really want to. And so I'm telling myself this story in my head, probably for the last like 18 months. And then one day I just thought, hey, why don't I just ask him what he means when he says that?
Yes. Yeah.
Because every time he says it, it seethes rage in me. And I will often even, you know, then say something not rude to him, but, you know, I might just be like, oh, well, obviously you don't want to, so, and then I'll just walk.
Don't worry about it, I guess.
Yeah. And then he has a reaction to that because so I asked him the next time he said it to me, I was like, hey babe, when you say that, are you saying sure as in like, yes, of course, or are you saying it in like a sarcastic way? And he's like, no, I'm just saying yes. And I was like, really?
Are we sure?
Because when I hear it, it sounds this way. And he goes, well, that's not how I mean it. And I'm like, okay, I'm really glad I asked you that, because I've spent a very long time thinking that it was like some arsey way to answer the question when actually you're just saying yes.
Yeah.
And I built this whole story in my head that, you know.
Yeah. Brene Brown, she's one of my favorite. She's a shame researcher, for those of you who don't know her. She likes to use that phrase, the story that I'm telling myself it is. And I think that that's like a very important way to frame things when you kind of are in that situation where you're in an argument or you feel that insecurity.
Yeah, and it just amazes me like how often we don't ask questions.
Yeah.
How often we just assume, because to me like it was so clear that he meant it the way that I was thinking it. And that's just one example of multiple things that I've assumed about my partner that I've been totally wrong about, and because he hasn't just offered that information up, because why would you? Like I've been going around thinking something totally different. So and again, that's just like one area of communication. Like we've been together for, you know, coming up to 6 years now, and our relationship is so strong and so healthy, but it got that way from having multiple breakdowns in communication and then sitting down together and opening up, being more honest, listening to what the other person has to say without getting defensive or you know. So it's such an important part of any relationship, and the more you communicate with people, like the more you understand them on a deeper level when they obviously communicate back with you. So I just think it's such a beautiful way to see like deeper and deeper into this other soul that you're having an interaction with. So yeah, what have we got? So we've got what was the first one I said? Respect, communication, and I think being genuinely wanting to see each other thrive, even if it's not the way that you perceive thriving to be, you know. So just being there for people, being their cheerleader, like having faith in them and loving them, and like just wanting to see them do really, really well in all aspects of their life.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. How about you? What's a meaningful relationship?
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree about communication. I think that is like the baseline for any relationship, regardless of if it's your brother, your best friend, somebody that you're meeting for the first time. I think that if there's not communication, it's gonna be just a shitstorm. Like it's gonna absolutely go off the rails.
Tensions build.
Yeah. And it can be like over time, just like little microaggressions that add up, or perceived microaggressions that are just kind of getting worse and worse and worse. And then suddenly it's a massive explosion where nobody is on the same page.
Yeah, and no one's saying what they really mean either.
But I also think that you mentioned it briefly, that you have to know yourself and know what it is that you actually want. One of the hardest things for me is asking for what I want, because I oftentimes don't really know, and that's something that I'm really working on, is just kind of in relationships with friends, with family, with my husband, just kind of trying to like ask for something, because there's that lack of communication from my end of just not really asking for what it is that I need, because I'm not looking at it, I'm not trying to figure out what it is that I need. So communication is definitely a big one. And I think compassion is another really big one. Having a lot of forgiveness for somebody else and for understanding for what it is that they're going through. I think that with not really being great at communication and with not really knowing what I want, it takes a lot of compassion to be in a close relationship with me, to be one of my close friends, to be my partner, I'm sure. Because I don't ask very often, and I struggle with that, and it can be incredibly frustrating, because I have this mentality of like, I'll do it myself, I don't need anybody else, I'll sort it out, I'll do all of the chores, like I'll do it all in terms of the emotional support, and I'm not kind of asking, and I'm
just seething about it in the meantime.
Kind of, yeah. Or just like going emotionally flat, because I don't engage kind of either way, and I just kind of push it all down. So compassion is, I think, incredibly important, and I try to show so much compassion because it's what I would want.
You are incredibly compassionate. Like just the things that I hear you say, and you're just immediately like going back to you being inclusive as well. You know, like I know you have a lot of friends from the LGBTQ community, and I remember when you were talking about your friend V, and
hi V, I love you.
Hi V, I love you too. V was coming over for the wedding, and you were explaining to me, you know, that V is a they, and they them, and at that time I'd only started to recently like learn about these concepts, and honestly when you were talking about it, I was like, I have no idea what any of this means. And I think had you not been the first person I spoke to about it, I probably would have had a very different reaction.
Really?
But you were just like so on board with it and like explaining to me why.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. You know, like I trust Aiden. She's a beautiful person. She's kind. And there is a reason that, you know, people feel this way. And Aiden's explaining it to me. So I did have a very different reaction than I think I would have having that with somebody else. That
actually means so much for me to hear, because I feel like I definitely, just to go off on another tangent, I definitely have in the past not been that, and not kind of been a good example of a good ally. In that, like, I get super defensive for the community. Like I want to defend my people, right? Like I get very, very protective of those that I love, and I will fight anybody, including my own family, over these sorts of things, which is not the mentality to take, and I recognize that. But in the moment, like I just get so protective and so self-righteous and kind of justified for kind of lashing out at somebody who isn't taking a very compassionate approach towards somebody else. And I think that means so much to hear that I've gotten it right at least once, and I can get it right again in the future. And I'm getting really emotional about it, because V's obviously my best friend and they mean the world to me. And to hear that I've made it just that much easier for them by kind of giving a bit of a debrief ahead of time, like they use they them pronouns, and this is the reason, and to have somebody take that on board and understand it and see that perspective and be open to a change in perspective for something that they're not familiar with, and open to learning because of the way that I've kind of approached it, just feels really good. And I'm so glad I told you. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a second.
Aw.
So I've said respect, compassion, and tied into compassion, I think forgiveness falls into that one, for making mistakes and giving room for mistakes. And then I think the last one is probably just being able to laugh and like have fun.
Yeah.
I am so in love with my partner because I think he's the funniest person in the world. Yeah. he's incredible, and he's incredibly kind and calm, and he brings to me some of that calm. But one of the reasons that I fell for him is because he made me laugh, and because he just has this incredible gift, I think, of brightening people's day.
He's a funny guy. I love Nick. He's like, we've got such a brother and sister relationship.
You guys really do.
We just love messing with each other, and he's always fun to be around, and he's the game master.
He really is.
He's a board game fanatic, and
I wasn't a board game person. I thought that I hated board games, and like I think that Nick just has a gift of like showing people.
Yeah, he does, because he just knows. Like, I am not an easy person to explain games to.
Neither.
I'm like, I've got to play at least 2 rounds before I have any idea what's going on. And he's always just so on top of it when we have game nights. Like, it's very clear and concise.
Yeah, he explains them so well. I have become the game master for my team by proxy because Nick has so many games, and we do like when we're all in person for kind of our team day, we do a games huddle at the start of the day where we have 30 minutes to like debrief on our day, brief on our day, I don't know, whatever, debrief on our night before, brief on our day to come, and when we're all in person we'll play a game as well. And I'm bringing all of these games and I'm explaining them like crap because I have no idea how to explain a game. So I'm basically like, I'll explain it as we're going, and everybody's like, I have no idea what's going on. Nick takes all of that away. Like he's just so good at explaining things and kind of bringing a bit of a rational mindset. But it's the fun nature and the ability to laugh and the ability to kind of to take life and like look at it and see kind of something that is enjoyable and funny in situations especially that are really stressful.
I'm with you there with laughing and I think it's playfulness, right?
It is, yeah.
Like same for me and my partner Dean. We're just silly together.
You guys really are. He seems like the most serious person until Emma walks into the room, and then they're both just like the biggest goofs.
Yeah, like we're freaking weirdos together, man. Like there is nothing I can do in front of this man that makes me think like, oh no, he'll find me unattractive if I do this, because like we have just done the weirdest things around each other, and we laugh a lot. Like he's my best friend and I'm his best friend, and we love spending time together. And the sex portion of the relationship is just the bonus, right? But getting to live with your best friend
and like
and build a life with your best friend, and have that playfulness. Like we always say this, like, do you think when we're old we're still going to be like grabbing each other's butts and calling each other goose and just all the weird stuff that we do? Like I can totally visualize that. And one thing that I'm really looking forward to is our children growing up seeing their parents so in love, because I didn't get that. My parents divorced when I was very young. And honestly, like a lot of my friends didn't have that either, So that's something I dream about a lot and that I visualize a lot, is like the future that we have together and us just being
being
in love
still.
and goofy and the type of couple that people look at and like, oh, look at that old couple pretending to be ninjas while they walk down the street.
And that's it. I think it just brings, maybe this is the kids ministry volunteer in me, but I think it just brings a bit of youthfulness to a situation, and that it just keeps youth alive to be able to play with somebody and to be able to kind of laugh with somebody and have that kind of joyful childlike relationship.
It's nurturing your inner child. Like, you get to do all the stuff that as you were growing up, people started saying, okay, you're getting too old for that now.
You gotta be an adult.
Yeah.
But what does that
Stop
really
spinning
mean?
in circles. No, I want to spin. No, honestly, it is. It's so true. It's I feel like when we nurture our inner child, we become more creative. We feel this type of freedom that,
definitely,
you know, I think we can lose sight of a lot of the time in the adult world. So yeah, if you have someone in your life that can help bring that out in you, because I think I was a lot more serious. I knew that I was weird and I would be weird alone.
Yeah. You'd never show that part of yourself to anybody, right?
I remember once, this was back when I still lived at home in the UK, but I must have been at least 16 at the time. My brother was in his bedroom, so like, I thought I could just be weird, and so I started like crawling up the stairs on all fours like some goblin. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice go, "What are you doing?" And my brother's at the top of the staircase looking down at me, and I was just like, nothing. Oh, but like I packed those parts of me away for a long time, and then when I met my partner, and you know, the more time we spent together, we started pushing that weird boundary until like there just was no boundary anymore.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
The other day, Nick and I were, it was a Sunday, and we were doing our like afternoon chores and stuff, right? And I thought he was over in the bedroom, and I'm out on the deck, and I'm just like, I've got headphones in, and I'm listening to really trashy, like early 2000s music, and I'm like just dancing on the deck like nobody's watching, and I look up, and Nick stood in the kitchen, and he's just losing it, and I'm just like, and he's like, "You weirdo." And he said, "I love you so much right now." Aww. And it's those moments, right, that mean so much, and that bring out that unique part of yourself that you don't show to the everyday world.
Yes.
That I think make a relationship. And it's the same with my friends. Like, I obviously, like, we have a weird relationship. V and I have a weird relationship. Me and my brothers all have weird relationships. Like,
yeah, definitely. Any relationship is better with that playful element there.
Definitely.
Well, gosh, that was amazing. It's been a long one.
They just keep
sticking with us if you're still around.
They keep getting longer and longer. Soon enough, we'll be having 3-hour conversations.
Yeah. I think we need to buy another hard drive. All right, guys. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I would highly recommend you writing these questions down and having a little go yourself. Do it with a friend. Make it fun.
We'll put them in the
notes.
The show notes, so that you can kind of reflect back, or you can go back to the beginning of the podcast, because we read them out before we started tangenting, I think.
That's it. Yeah. So this is your Soul Profile by Deepak Chopra. So have a wonderful week, whatever you guys are up to, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you again in the next episode.
Bye.